Hi, today we're going to talk to you about some common issues that can happen to automatic floor scrubbers. And even though we're concentrating on this automatic scrubber from Advanced, this is really common problems that could happen to anything from a riding automatic scrubber all the way down to a small automatic scrubber. The first issue we're going to talk about on this automatic scrubber is the squeegee. An automatic floor scrubber should leave your floor as dry as possible, and one of the issues that happens with water recovery is sometimes the squeegee is not set properly or the blades are bad. So let's take a look at this squeegee here. What you'll notice with this squeegee, you have 4 good edges. There's 2 edges down here, and then up on top there's 2 more edges right there. So this squeegee blade can be flipped and turned. So you have 4 good edges. What can happen with an automatic scrubber? You can get going down the floor and you may possibly get a cut in the squeegee blade. And so it's very easy with most automatic scrubbers to flip the blade and get a good side. So what you want to do is inspect the edge and make sure you have a good crisp edge. Over time, this edge can round over. Once this edge rounds over, you're not going to pick up the water as well. So once again, in that case, you need to flip it to the next good side. The rear blade is the main one that picks up the water. The front blade of the machine is what allows the dirt and debris to get into the tool. Another issue with the squeegees is they should be on the floor nice and level. All right, so if this is perfectly level and go down the floor, you're going to get even pickup. However, if a squeegee is out of adjustment and it's down too far in the edges but not enough here, you'll leave water. The other thing that can happen is the squeegee blade to be tipped backwards, also adjusted out of adjustment, and it really needs to be brought back to level. On this machine, how to change that level, and this is actually perfectly level. How to change that level is by moving this gauge here, and now with this squeegee, it's down a little too far there and up too much here. So what I'll do is I'll just bring that back to perfect, exactly what I want. So also, when you put this on the machine, make sure it's nice and tight. So that's nice and tight, and if I push this machine, it's adjusted perfectly. Another thing that can go wrong is you could possibly have a plugged up hose, all right? So if your hose going up into the tank has pulled up some bulky debris, you need to clean that out. Another issue with poor recovery could happen inside this tank, all right? So this is the dirty water tank. And when you look in here, there's a few features that need to be looked at. First of all, I don't know if you can see this. There's a ball shutoff here. There's some sort of float shutoff on most automatic floor scrubbers. If there's a bunch of debris all over this here, it may not shut off, and you could actually be dumping water back on the floor, causing a wet floor. Most often, if this is full, the vacuum will be blocked, and therefore you won't be recovering water off the floor. In addition, most automatic scrubbers today have some sort of a debris tray. And this debris tray can fill up with so much stuff that the water just does not suck up and get into the machine properly. You need to make sure that this is cleaned out on a regular basis. The other thing about a recovery tank is, goes without saying, you need to drain it thoroughly and rinse it. The drain on this machine is right up back here. If the machine is not drained properly and cleaned properly, it's going to start to stink. And nobody wants a smelly machine. The other factor with leaving water on the floor could be the gasket on your tank. Gaskets generally can be removed, they can be cleaned, and oftentimes the gasket is not in place properly, and therefore you get no suction. The next issue that people run into that we're going to cover today is that a lot of customers have an issue with the results on the floor, poor scrubbing results. And probably the primary reason for poor scrubbing results might be the wrong choice of the pad or the brush you're using on the floor. So just as a quick review, the darker the pad, the more aggressive the pad. So if you're washing your floor every day with the wrong pad, such as this stripping pad, you're going to have a dull, worn out floor. So you don't wash with a black pad. A white pad is a very soft pad that may clean. A red pad is a standard pad that most people would use on their automatic scrubber. But there are other options too. 3M has this clean and shine pad. So as you wash the floor with this pad on your machine, it'll actually shine the floor as you go. So the result of the pad on the floor can have a dramatic impact on how the floor looks. The other thing that is important is many automatic scrubbers have an extra pressure gauge. So if you put extra pressure on that pad and you're just trying to wash every day, you could be scuffing up the floor with too much pressure. And that extra scrubbing, that extra pressure is really only designed for when you really have to do a heavy duty scrub on the floor. The next issue that we want to talk about on automatic floor scrubbers is no water coming out of the machine. And there is some pretty basic stuff we're going to go over. Just bear with me, because honestly, I can't tell you how many times we've had customers who aren't familiar with the machine fill the dirty water with what they think is the clean water, and clearly the dirty water tank will not release water onto the floor. So be sure on your machine that you fill the machine into the clean water tank. We also have people who say, I have no water, and when we look at the machine, and this machine has graduated marks on it. So this is quarter, half, three-quarter, then full. And you can see the water would fill up in this tube to those levels. And customers who actually have no water in the machine call us and say, no water's coming out. So now to get to really probably the most basic reason water doesn't come out of a machine is right down here. The first thing I'm going to do, what we're going to look at is the filter on the machine, all right? So the first thing I'm going to do is make sure the water source is turned off. So if this tank is full of water and I take the filter out, we'll have a flood. So the next thing I'm going to do on this machine is open up this filter. This should be a weekly maintenance item on the machine, all right? And inside here is the filter. This filter will get dirty on the inside. So when your customer looks at this filter from outside the machine, they can't see any dirt. So it's really important to actually take this out, rinse it thoroughly, rinse the cup thoroughly, put it correctly back in, nice and square and straight, then screw it back in. And turn your water source back on. That should deliver water to your machine. If at that point the water does not want to come to the floor, you may have an electrical issue that might require a technician to come look at your machine. The next issue we're going to review with automatic scrubbers is the machine won't run. The machine only runs for a few minutes and then shuts off. So we're going to review several things that have to do with the batteries in a machine. So if you open up this machine, you can see that there are two batteries here. These happen to be sealed batteries. They're AGM type batteries, and they don't require any water to be added to them, but they do need to be charged, all right? So the biggest thing that people do incorrectly is forget to charge a machine, or expect a machine to run on multiple shifts in the same day, and you'll have trouble. So let me show you a couple of things that can affect the charging of the battery. First of all, this machine has a built-in charger. So what we always want to make sure is that when you plug it into the wall, and I'm just going to come over here, when you plug this charger into the wall, put it in thoroughly, make sure it's nice and firm. Then the machine will come up, and when you look at the machine, all machines have some sort of indicator to tell what level the battery is. This particular battery is 2/3 empty, and so this would probably take about 6 hours to fully charge up. When those batteries are fully charged and then have been left time to cool down, the machine is ready to go. Another issue that can happen to batteries is that there's a safety here. This is how you unplug that battery pack completely, and from time to time it's loose and it's not connected very well. Be sure that this is plugged in firmly. It's very, very critical. And then I just want to talk about one more thing about what is probably the most important thing that that will harm any battery is a lot of people opportunity charge the battery. And what I mean by opportunity charge is they'll be running the machine and then it will be time for a break. And they plug the machine in on break. And what happens is the charger pushes full voltage into that battery. The batteries heat up. Now you come back after a 15 minutes break, the batteries are hot. Now you run the machine some more, that creates more temperature. So that battery stays hot. And then maybe you go to dinner or lunch and you plug that machine in for an hour. And maybe plug it in for an afternoon break. So during the course of a shift, when somebody's using a machine, they may several times plug it in to charge it. And what happens is that battery, all you're doing is increasing the temperature, increasing the temperature of the battery. The battery never has time to recover and level out, I would say, and to cool off. So the proper use of any charger is run the machine for at least a third of the runtime. So if this machine runs for 3 hours, you don't charge it until you've gone at least an hour. The second rule is once you do charge it, let the machine complete the charge cycle thoroughly and then cool down. So typically if a battery runs for 3 hours, it's going to take about 6 hours to charge and an additional 3 hours to cool down. So the reality is batteries really are a one shift per day operation for the machine. If you run the batteries and charge them properly, get them fully charged, fully cooled, and run through one cycle per day, you will get the longest runtime out of your batteries and the longest life of the batteries.